While you watch this video at this very moment, something extraordinary is happening inside every cell of your body. A silent transformation, invisible to physical eyes, yet profoundly real in the subtler planes of existence. Edgar Cayce, the seer who unveiled the mysteries of human consciousness through his altered states of perception, glimpsed a truth that challenges everything we believed about our evolution. By the year 2030, humanity will no longer walk together as a single species, but will split into two completely distinct paths. We are not talking about science fiction or futuristic speculation. We are talking about a prophecy rooted in the deepest readings about human nature, where DNA is not merely a biological code, but a sacred blueprint responding to the vibrational frequency of our choices, thoughts, and spiritual alignment. The question that should be burning in your mind right now is not whether this transformation is real, but which path you are already walking without even realizing it. Cayce spoke of those who would ascend into higher dimensions of consciousness, their very cellular structure evolving to hold more light, more awareness, more divine connection, while others would remain anchored in patterns of separation, materialism, and spiritual stagnation. This is not judgment. This is simply the natural consequence of free will meeting cosmic law. Every decision you make, every thought you nurture, every emotion you feed is literally rewriting your genetic code in this present moment, determining which version of humanity you will become when this great division manifests in just 4 short years.
Edgar Cayce saw something that modern science refuses to acknowledge. Your body doesn't produce consciousness. Consciousness produces your body. In his trance readings, he spoke of the human organism as a musical instrument responding to the vibrations of thought and spirit. When he predicted humanity splitting into 2 species, he wasn't talking about random mutations. He described a deliberate process where your cells reorganize themselves according to the frequency you choose to embody. Every thought you hold, every emotion you feed becomes written into your cellular memory. The year 2030 marks a convergence point where accumulated choices finally manifest. Think of it as a cosmic harvest, decades of individual and collective consciousness bearing fruit. Those nurturing seeds of compassion and spiritual awareness will find their DNA responding by opening dormant capacities, activating what Cayce called the higher glands of spiritual perception. Those focused solely on material gain and ego satisfaction will watch their genetic expression solidify into denser, more limited forms. This isn't punishment, it's spiritual law working as predictably as gravity. Cayce revealed that your endocrine system acts as the physical counterpart to spiritual energy centers. These glands aren't just chemical factories, they're sophisticated receivers and transmitters of consciousness itself. The pineal gland, which he called the seat of the soul, bridges the physical and spiritual realms. As we approach this pivotal moment, people working with meditation and spiritual practices are activating genetic sequences dormant since humanity's fall from higher awareness. These activations produce measurable changes in brain chemistry, cellular regeneration, and the electromagnetic field surrounding your body. The splitting has already begun. You're not waiting for something to happen in the future. You're living through it now. Every time you choose fear over love, separation over unity, materialism over spirituality, you vote with your consciousness for which species you become. Every opposite choice activates latent codes within your DNA, connecting you to higher dimensional realities. Cayce stressed this isn't about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about the consistent direction of your attention, the habitual patterns of your thinking, and the intentions motivating your actions. One genuine moment of spiritual awareness can rewrite years of negative programming.
In the Cayce readings, vibrational frequency appears repeatedly as the key determining factor. He explained that everything in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, from subatomic particles to galaxies. Human consciousness, being divine in origin, can consciously choose and modify its vibrational rate. When you maintain thoughts of gratitude, love, and spiritual aspiration, you raise the frequency at which your cells vibrate. This higher vibration allows dormant DNA sequences to activate, sequences connecting you to what Cayce called Christ consciousness, the recognition of your unity with creative forces. Scientists are discovering what Cayce knew decades ago. DNA isn't a fixed blueprint, but a dynamic system constantly responding to environmental signals. Cayce went further, revealing that the most powerful signals affecting your DNA aren't chemical or physical, they're vibrational and consciousness-based. The emotions you feel, the thoughts you think, the intentions you hold, all emit electromagnetic frequencies, bathing your cells in waves of information. Your DNA actively responds by expressing or suppressing different genetic possibilities. Two people with identical genetic codes can manifest completely different capacities depending on their consciousness. Cayce described the split as inevitable because it represents free will operating over extended time. Imagine two rivers beginning at the same source but gradually diverging based on terrain and the paths they carve. Eventually, these two rivers become so different they can't be considered the same body of water. Human consciousness has been diverging into two streams for generations, and by 2030, the divergence reaches a point of no return. Those choosing higher consciousness will have activated so many dormant sequences that their bodies literally function at different vibrational frequencies, different perceptual abilities, different relationships with time and space, different capacities for healing and manifestation. Karma plays a central role in how this unfolds. Cayce taught that karma isn't punishment, but simply meeting yourself through cause and effect. Those who spent lifetimes serving self at others' expense, accumulating power and control, denying spiritual dimensions, aren't being judged by external God. They're experiencing the natural harvest of seeds they've sown. Their DNA reflects consciousness animating their choices, creating bodies increasingly attuned to lower frequencies and closed to higher possibilities. Hell isn't a place, but a state of consciousness, a vibrational frequency of separation and suffering.
Cayce's vision extends beyond physical differences into dimensional reality itself. He described multiple dimensions coexisting in the same space, separated by frequency rather than distance. Those ascending into higher consciousness will perceive and interact with dimensions remaining invisible to those vibrating at lower frequencies. Quantum physics now confirms particles exist in multiple states until observed, that reality at its fundamental level is stranger than everyday perception suggests. Cayce understood human consciousness acts as the observer, collapsing quantum possibilities into manifest reality. Raising consciousness grants access to broader spectrums of possibility. The spiritual centers along your spine correspond to specific endocrine glands, and their activation follows a precise sequence as consciousness evolves. The journey begins with lower centers of survival, sexuality, and personal power, then ascends toward the heart center of unconditional love, throat center of creative expression, third eye of spiritual perception, and crown connection to universal consciousness. Those splitting into the higher species have been working to activate these upper centers through meditation, selfless service, and spiritual devotion. The genetic changes are measurable: increased pineal activity, enhanced neural plasticity, elevated coherence between heart and brain electromagnetic fields. What Cayce found most significant was the urgency of this historical moment. Souls incarnating now chose this specific time because it offers unprecedented opportunity for rapid spiritual evolution. The intensity of challenges, acceleration of change, collapse of old structures, all serve as catalysts, forcing humanity to make clear choices about their fundamental orientation. You can't remain neutral in such times. The pressure of circumstances demands you either rise into higher consciousness or contract into fear and separation. This is why so many souls wanted to be present. This transition offers evolutionary leaps that might otherwise require hundreds of lifetimes. The practical implications manifest in everyday life more than most realize. Those aligned with higher consciousness find synchronicities multiplying, intentions manifesting with unusual speed, intuitive abilities sharpening, and a sense of connection permeating even difficult experiences. Their bodies may show unusual resilience, slower aging, and spontaneous healing of supposedly incurable conditions. Meanwhile, those moving toward lower frequencies often experience increasing chaos, disconnection, anxiety, and physical deterioration despite medical interventions. These aren't rewards and punishments, but natural consequences of vibrational frequencies being embodied. Your body becomes the temple or prison of the consciousness you house within it. Consciousness alters DNA through what Cayce called mental and spiritual bodies, layers of being that interpenetrate the physical but operate at higher frequencies. Every thought creates a pattern in the mental body. Every emotion creates a pattern in the spiritual body, and these patterns eventually precipitate into physical form. Modern epigenetics validates this, showing that stress, meditation, and emotional states can turn genes on or off without changing the underlying code. Cayce suggested sustained spiritual practice can actually rewrite the genetic code itself, activating junk DNA that contains dormant instructions for higher human capacities. Group consciousness becomes particularly relevant as we approach 2030. Human beings aren't isolated individuals, but nodes in a vast network of consciousness, each influencing and being influenced by the whole. As more individuals raise their frequency, they create what Cayce called an egregor, a collective thought form, making it easier for others to access similar states. This explains why spiritual movements spontaneously arise in multiple locations, why breakthrough insights occur to different researchers simultaneously, why cultural shifts happen with unexpected rapidity. The splitting is both individual and collective, where critical masses of consciousness tip the balance and create new possibilities for entire populations. Cayce spoke urgently about children born in recent decades, souls with highly activated spiritual potential incarnating specifically to assist this transition. These individuals, often displaying unusual sensitivity, intuitive abilities, and resistance to authoritarian structures, represent the emerging template of the higher species. Their DNA already contains activations previous generations worked lifetimes to achieve. Yet current educational, medical, and social systems often pathologize and suppress these gifts rather than nurturing them. Medications suppressing spiritual sensitivity, standardized education crushing creative genius, social pressure forcing conformity. This represents spiritual abortion, cutting off the capacities humanity needs for evolution. Free will in determining which species you become can't be overstated in Cayce's philosophy. Nothing is predetermined. Even souls following the path of separation for multiple lifetimes can turn toward unity in one moment of genuine spiritual awakening. Conversely, those who made spiritual progress can lose ground through complacency, pride, or attachment to psychic powers rather than spiritual development. The process is dynamic, alive, responsive to choice in every moment. The years leading to 2030 represent a window where conscious choice can still alter your trajectory. After the split solidifies, changing course will require far more effort, like redirecting a river that carved deep channels into bedrock.
The timeline Cayce revealed shows gradual intensification leading to the threshold moment around 2030. The preparatory phase began in the late 20th century with acceleration of both technological and spiritual developments. This decade represents what he called the sorting time. Individuals increasingly reveal through their choices which path they're committed to following. By 2030, the vibrational gap will have widened, where the two groups essentially inhabit different realities while occupying the same physical space. This isn't science fiction, but the natural result of consciousness operating according to spiritual law over extended time. One of Cayce's most profound teachings concerns love as the ultimate determining factor. All spiritual law summarizes in a single principle: love is the fulfilling of the law. Those learning to love unconditionally, seeing the divine spark in all beings, acting from compassion rather than judgment, naturally align with higher frequencies. Their DNA responds to this love by opening, expanding, activating dormant potentials. Love in this context isn't mere sentiment, but powerful creative force, the very energy through which the Creator brings all things into being.
Those closing themselves to love through fear, hatred, or indifference literally close their genetic potential, limiting themselves to increasingly narrow ranges of expression. The practical question facing every viewer is simple yet profound. Which species are you becoming? The answer lies not in what you believe about yourself, but in actual patterns of your daily life. How do you respond to conflict, seeking to understand or to win? When someone hurts you, do you cultivate forgiveness or nurse resentment? When you succeed, do you feel gratitude or entitlement? When others succeed, do you feel joy or envy? These moment-to-moment choices, seemingly insignificant in isolation, accumulate into the vibrational signature determining your genetic destiny. Spiritual development isn't about dramatic mystical experiences, but patient, consistent application of spiritual ideals in mundane circumstances of everyday life. Cayce's message carries both warning and hope. Time is running short for those wishing to change trajectory. The momentum of decades and lifetimes of choices can't be reversed casually or without sincere effort. Those who built lives around ego gratification, material accumulation, and spiritual denial will find it increasingly difficult to shift as the splitting accelerates. However, the hope lies in the immense power of sincere spiritual intention. Even one who lived many lifetimes in darkness can turn to light and find the universe rushing to support that choice. The key is genuine commitment, daily practice, and consistent application of spiritual ideals. The choice of which species you become is still yours to make, but the window is rapidly closing. Every single choice you make in the next 4 years will write itself into the blueprint of your existence with permanence you cannot yet comprehend. Edgar Cayce saw this moment coming, not as some distant prophecy, but as the culmination of every thought you've ever held, every emotion you've ever fed, every intention you've ever acted upon. The species you become by 2030 isn't being decided by fate or genetics or circumstances beyond your control. It's being decided right now, in this present moment, as you watch these words and feel whatever you're feeling in response to them. The universe doesn't ask for perfection. It asks only for direction, for consistent choice, for the courage to turn your face toward light even when darkness feels safer and more familiar. Your DNA is listening to every decision, reorganizing itself according to the frequency you choose to embody, activating possibilities or closing them forever. The question Cayce posed echoes through time with increasing urgency. Which human species will you choose to become? Not tomorrow, not next year, but in this breath you're taking right now. If this message stirred something within you, if you felt recognition rather than rejection, if some part of your soul whispered yes to the truth beneath these words, then you already know which path is yours to walk. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone still sleeping who might awaken. Leave your thoughts below, because your words carry frequency that helps others find their way. Subscribe to continue this journey together, because those who are meant to ascend don't walk alone. We recognize each other by the light we carry, and right now, that light in you just became a little brighter.